I step cautiously out of my apartment, and into the darkness of the city streets. Everything is still and silent, the only sound is that of my own heartbeat pounding against the fragile walls of my chest. I look up, and all I see are the towering skyscrapers that line the horizon, and their glass facades, reflecting the sickly yellow light of the street lamps. The air feels oppressively thick, heavy with the smell of exhaust, and I can feel a chill running through my bones. As I cast my gaze downwards, I get a sense of the true desolation of the city. The streets are filled with empty storefronts, their windows dark and shuttered. Trash and debris litter the sidewalk, and the only people I see are hunched over figures, scuttling through the darkness in search of scraps to eat. An oppressive sense of hopelessness had long become the status quo in this dystopian world. New regulations from the government had imposed harsh rationing and curfews. Businesses and stores had closed, resulting in a shortage of food. A super-rich elite now held sway over the people, controlling everything from credit to housing, from fuel to food. A carbon tax had been implemented, reducing everyone's consumption levels drastically and exacerbating tensions between the haves and the have-nots. At night, the world outside felt especially foreboding. Nobody wanted to leave the dilapidated apartments they shared with other inhabitants. Darkness was the enemy, street lights not to be trusted. I had come to understand that fear. I was an inhabitant of this world, this seemingly post-apocalyptic world that I called my home. There were days of fear and plenty of nights of sorrows. Nights when I could not help but worry about what the future might hold. Back then, I lived a life of ease, venturing out to movies, eating at restaurants, and finding entertainment wherever I happened to be. I've always felt a sense of foreboding. I dreaded the idea of being outside at night, as darkness spilled across the city like a silent force. I never knew where I could go or what I could do, and I knew nobody else was venturing out either. I stayed within my apartment more and more. Coupled with this dread came the ever-present specter of food scarcity. Despite the rationing, supplies often ran out weeks before the new deliveries were supposed to arrive. Those were dark days, the days when I would lock the door and sit in the dark, waiting for the hunger to pass. I found solace in the virtual world. In a world without connection, that was the only place I would see a glimmer of hope. To escape from my reality and to find solace, I would log into my virtual reality space. Through that, I could feel the sun on my skin and blaze with a beauty that the world had forgotten. This outside world was crippled and broken, breathless and voiceless, all of which beckoned a supreme calling, while unsettling me with unspeakable realities. My reality was no safe haven either, as going out at night was seen as a willing act of martyrdom. A few months prior, the police had been disbanded and replaced with autonomous robocops, and the super-rich elitists had spread their unabated claims of control and superiority. Carbon taxes and food scarcity had become common instead of the norm, as luxury and excess drifted away from the grasp of its many inhabitants. The world was terrorizing in its inconsistency and unpredictable nature, as any lurking danger seemed to dissolve away during the day, and flourish beneath the bleak moonlight. To baffle these fears, I took to creating a plan. First, I'd dress in inconspicuous colors and make my way home before the first stroke of the sunset. Secondly, I'd avoid the well-known gangs of punks, who were deemed as the most dangerous of the night. Thirdly, I'd even feign being a drifter if I saw a patrolling patrol of opulence, leaving little doubt that I was en route with a plan. Lastly, I'd ensure I was always armed and well prepared in the event of any emergencies.
Every night, I followed this plan to the letter.
On my journeys home, I'd take note of peculiar things like protruding shadows and the sound of braying cars.
I'd ingeniously invent stories and truly become immersed in this dystopian world.
On one particular night, I managed to reach the steps of my flat without any drama, but just as I was about to unlock my door, I heard a scratch from behind me. It could have been an animal of some sort, but I became wise to the fact that even animals were a rare sight in this dead world. I decided to retreat back inside and asked myself what might be out there.
Once I re-entered, I locked the door tightly and began to turn the lights off one by one.
As the light faded away and the darkness moonlighted my flat, I looked out into the night and noticed a lone figure standing near the steps of my flat. As he slowly turned his face towards me, I could feel the fear course through my veins and my heart began to race.
It was then I realized that he had seen me and was coming my way. I knew I was at the brink of danger, so I raced to the back of my flat in an attempt to find an escape. But it was too late, the figure had caught up with me.
He proceeded to disarm me, and I watched as a cold and emotionless smile crept upon his face.
My heart stopped. This is it, I thought to myself. I began to weigh the consequences of this decision, of going outside the apartment. Fear seeped through my veins, and I knew that no matter how much I wanted to, I could not just turn around and walk away from what I had to do.
It was 2 decades before when I can recall the world being different and the sun going down in a blaze of colors.